Well, as we've been telling you on this independent media channel, the fires of civil unrest are just starting to kindle in the United States. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski of WeAreChange.org. Of course, a lot of important things to get into today, especially with all the latest events that just unfolded in Wisconsin and all throughout the United States. Lots of important commentary, details, and analysis that you can't get anywhere else. Now, we have to understand what we're seeing in major cities all across this country, whether New York City, Portland, Seattle, Charlotte, Denver, or Kenosha, Wisconsin right now. It's not something that is just happening randomly. We have to understand there's a lot of institutional hypocrisy that surely deserves to be called out. Calling out some of these things has caused this channel to be shadow banned, censored, and now 100% demonetized, and that's why I can't thank everyone enough for supporting us on wearechange.org/donate. There's many ways to help. Even without spending a dime, your support is more important than ever. And also, as a reminder, tickets are selling out very fast and are very limited to our one-on-one special self-defense survival training happening this Sunday, noon, near Concord, New Hampshire. If you're near Concord, New Hampshire, and you're interested in doing this one-on-one survival training course with me and my Green Beret Special Forces friend, please click the link down below to reserve your spot before they are sold out. Now, the United States has seen yet another ugly demonstration of senseless violence that rocked the city of Kenosha, Wisconsin, as cars were smashed, buildings torched, properties looted, and citizens injured as we had a second night of unrest after yet another police-related shooting that is being hyped up by the U.S. mainstream media. Terribly ugly scenes that saw many innocent people in the crosshairs of it as people were randomly targeted by a mob, and some had their entire lives burned right in front of them. And the images that you're seeing literally look like they are out of a war zone. An all too common scene in 2020 as we're seeing civil unrest grow as we've been telling you it will. One of the people affected by all of this on video was this elderly business owner who is seen walking around with a fire extinguisher trying to stop a fire in his business. Then he makes an attempt to try to stop the looters.
I had nothing to do with it. I'm trying to stop.
And in response, you could see he was hit there, had a bottle thrown at him, and then continues to be assaulted and knocked out unconscious onto the ground, with some people even celebrating this.
Sir.
Afterwards, while still unconscious, the man was then lectured to about how this was somehow justified.
What terrifies these black men out here? They're not making it home to their families. Understand. Respect. How about that? It's called respect.
Yeah, respect, which again we've seen absolutely none of by the people who just robbed and assaulted that man, but we're seeing the same kind of lines being reiterated, which we see on mainstream media and by many of the celebrities, is that black men are terrified and they're not returning to their homes. And we're seeing the same exact talking points being puppeteered by soon-to-be billionaire celebrity NBA star LeBron James, a man who became super rich because of slave labor in another country, who is now literally using the same exact talking points, talking about how black men, black women, and black kids are terrified. And when you look at that talking point, it kind of actually makes sense, especially with all the fear-mongering that has been going around by the mainstream media and by the establishment. Fear-mongering over something that statistically is a very low risk against a black man, as even the Washington Post gathered a database and reported that there have been 13 instances of police officers shooting unarmed black men in 2019. One instant of also shooting an unarmed black woman. 14 instances, of course, too many. None of this should ever happen. We should do everything in our power to prevent police officers killing anyone, especially when they are unarmed. We should do everything to prevent this from happening. But regardless of whatever you think of the data, the fear-mongering, or this movement, what in the world does this have to do with anything when it comes to destroying your community and businesses that are operated and owned by other individuals. And the crazy thing about it is, why can't we just say that indiscriminately destroying and attacking innocent people is wrong? We need to stop it at all costs, and it should not be tolerated. That should not be something controversial to say, but somehow it is. And people are doing the exact opposite of that, as we're seeing absolutely insane behavior of people supporting it, lying about it, or just being too afraid to even say those words or call it out for what it is. This is wrong. I'm going to say it here on this independent YouTube channel, but you're not going to hear that at many other places, as we're seeing even prominent establishment, especially privileged individuals like Shaun King, Talcum X, that are literally inciting violence and being promoted by big tech social media that, of course, has a double standard and supports political violence when it works towards their agenda, their goals, their point of view. I'm sorry, but supporting indiscriminate violence on random citizens is wrong. Even more strangely, national media organizations like CNN, as if they're doing their best attempt at doublespeak like we saw in 1984, they're calling this protests. Their coverage of what happened last night is described as this, quote, police threw tear gas into a crowd of about 100 to 150 protesters who are still out past the curfew in Kenosha, Wisconsin. They're protesting the shooting of a black man by police. The New York Times doesn't do any better, as they describe last night's events as, quote, peaceful marches that just, gave way to fires and destruction. Others are doing their darnest to try to blame this on Donald Trump somehow. By the way, these are some of the same national media organizations that were just a few weeks ago saying that some protests were very dangerous, that of course weren't politically aligned with them, and also just recently classified a protest against child trafficking as something that is extremely worrisome to them. Yes, people peacefully standing there, not rioting, calling to end child trafficking, which is usually done by the elites. Yes, that's extremely disturbing to CNN. Meanwhile, rioting is now somehow peaceful protesting. And I'm sorry, but that's absolutely illogical. That's absolutely insane. That's absolutely a bald-faced lie and a disrespect to anyone with a little bit of intelligence. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these thin blue line Trump supporters. There still are important issues to bring up when it comes to police accountability. We have to understand here, the Kenosha Police Department said that the shooting that sparked all this was excessive force in itself. Jacob Blake, the man who was shot, is left paralyzed and was shot 7 times in front of his 3 children. Now, the police are still investigating exactly what happened, what led up to this event. So far, the rough story that we have is that this man stopped to try to prevent 2 women from fighting each other. The police intervened, and we're also finding out that Jacob Blake also had a warrant for his arrest after he was charged with 3rd-degree sexual assault, trespassing, and disorderly conduct in connection with domestic abuse, an event that happened on July 6th. Now again, depending on what political side you are on or what movement you support, you're going to see a lot of nitpicking of certain facts and certain elements here. I do not wish to do that here on this independent media channel, but I do wish you to provide you with the full picture here and not just the selective nitpicking that you're seeing on either the left and right with this particular story. The facts matter here. The truth matters. We still don't know all the details. There's still an ongoing investigation. We're going to find those out, and when we do, it will be better to make a judgment then, and not, of course, rush to one with your assumptions, which only creates more noise and prevents a proper, intelligent dialogue from taking place. In my opinion, I think we need that more than ever. We need patience, we need resolve, and we need people to be able to understand something on its merits, on its facts, rather than just people's opinions, assertions, guesses, trying to, of course, win political brownie points and power, because these actions do have real-life consequences, as we're seeing unfold all throughout the cities in the United States as countless numbers of innocent people are hurt. Again, another thing to really consider here is exactly what's happening with this particular movement, with this particular protest. As right now you're watching video footage of police officers detain what looks like looters and also other individuals with assault rifles and then quickly let them go. Now again, we don't know the full circumstances surrounding this particular event and what exactly happened here, so we're not going to rush to judgment, but we have to understand U.S. police forces are militarized. I have seen them many times squash protests, squash peaceful movements, effectively in a blink of an eye, conduct extremely quick and effective crowd control. Because of George W. Bush and also Barack Obama, they are armed with the latest military technology. And we have to ask ourselves throughout all of this, what are they doing? Where are they? When it came to businesses being shut down, social distancing rules being enforced, they were on top of it. They were all over the place. They were making sure that people couldn't operate their businesses and make a living for themselves. In other places like Australia and also Spain, they are mobilized in full force, absolutely abusing their power and even in some instances beating children for not wearing masks when they themselves aren't wearing one. America needs a wake-up call and to understand that this concept and idea of a police force being there for you is sadly one of the past, as we are seeing prosecutors and police departments looking the other way as countless numbers of individuals are hurt throughout the mayhem that we're seeing unfold in the United States. And the situation is so desperate that literally armed individuals themselves are acting like their own security forces in their communities. Of course, to the response of some protesters that are screaming at them, cursing at them, and saying they're not with them because they don't support the indiscriminate burning down of private businesses and the community. As you see here, where an armed man trying to prevent some of the violence is screamed at and, of course, verbally assaulted. Another disturbing trend that we're seeing all over the place is BLM protesters, mainly, of course, white protesters, stopping at restaurants that are forced to, of course, only open if they have outside dining, and then demand that everyone eating outside raise their fist. If one of them doesn't, they scream at them, verbally abuse them, and in some instances even physically abuse them for, of course, not supporting their cause. And I'm sorry, but when your cause is violent, when your cause is supported by all the multinational corporations, when it has the mainstream media shilling for it, when it pushes the divide and conquer narrative, when it is discriminatory in itself and points the blame on an entire race of people, is organized by Marxists and communists, just like the official BLM organization that calls for the separation of the family structure, I am sorry, but that is not a movement that I will ever be a part of or support. It is a violent movement that is doing the bidding for the establishment, and of course fueling the fires for division and more civil unrest ahead, as we are already seeing many violent acts on both sides. Escalating shootings recently in Pennsylvania, where luckily no one was hurt, attempted ambush assassination attempts on officers, and with gun ownership spiking, 2 million new gun owners just recently in the United States, possible food shortages in the future, a major economic tsunami devastation on its way. What do you think is going to happen? Now again, we're still in a phase where the majority of people don't care about BLM or Blue Lives Matter. The majority of people just want to make ends meet. They want to work, they want to have a life, they want to provide for their family, but again, we have to understand the circumstances that the government created in 2020 is sucking that reality out of existence, and they're pushing and fomenting a lot of this civil unrest. What do you think was going to happen when the government locked us down, prevented any activity, any business, any sports, to have a relief of pressure valves of society, and then just actively promote and allow violent protests while covering up, lying about them, or just indiscriminately supporting them as more and more victims are laid bare to it? I'm sorry, but I will not be lectured by billionaires who profit off of human suffering. I will not excuse indiscriminate violence. I will always stand with the biggest minority of them all, and that is the individual, the most important group of them all. It's not just left and right, it's right and wrong. And I wish more people would wake up to that fact. If you think that's true, share this video with your friends and family members. It's more important than ever, since again, just talking about these issues, shadow banned, censored, 100% demonetized, your support is very important, a lot. And again, there's also a lot of new firearms owners that don't know what to do. Training facilities have been overburdened. Again, check out our defensive real-life training coming up soon this Sunday noon in Concord, New Hampshire. Stay tuned for more here on Independent Media. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. That's why. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.